everybody, and welcome to Blighty Day Fiance, your 8th, ninth, or 10th favorite reality recap podcast. I'm Diana, as a fantastic, exciting guest role getting to open the show. So thank you to these wonderful hosts. My beautiful husband, Jack. Thanks for letting me open the show, Boobie.
My pleasure, dear.
And where would this show be without its true, beautiful, spectacular, beautiful voiced, amazing, lovely human being, Miss Michelle?
Hey, what can I say? I've got the voice of an angel and the world's smallest pussy, so who better? And keeping on that theme, I just want to dedicate today's episode to the memory of my father, who would be turning 75 today. So I want to thank Jack and Diana for giving me some grace today and taking over the main sort of structure on the show while I make disgusting jokes to deflect from the deep abiding sadness that I feel at a fairly recent loss.
Michelle, we're here with you. We're here for you. I know all of your listeners and fans out there are sharing their love and support right now. And your dad is watching this and he knows your disgusting humor. So I'm sure he's more than proud.
My dad died so that there would be no one to humiliate. Because he would have listened to this show. So now I can say whatever I want, pretty much.
Indeed. We know none of our other parents are listening to this show.
No, that's for sure.
But what if they were? Let's all be our moms for a minute. Okay, so I'll start. Ugh, I don't know what you want me to say on this. Hello. My name is Lorraine, and this is Blighty Day Fiance, which is my daughter's show that she has foisted upon me at this particular moment in time. I'm not sure why, but we're all here, so why don't we just enjoy it? Joining me today is Adrian from New York.
What? Am I? I'm on. Wait. It's hold on. There's dogs everywhere, and there's stuff in the apartment. There's furniture. No. Shh! Stop it! Oh, but it's really nice. I think this is the show that Jack does with your daughter and his wife. I think. What?
Yep, wrap it up. Let's go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, who's
sorry.
next? Who else here? Sorry, I
Oh,
can't
hi.
keep track of
Hi,
it.
I'm Cheryl. My friends in Minnesota call me Sherry, and I'm just so happy to be here. Diana, I'm just so proud of you. You're so wonderful. You're just such a light. You're so amazing. And I'm just, wait, am I on camera okay? Do I look? Oh, yeah. I would love to be the host. Is that what you were asking for me to do? I'm just so excited about this. And I don't watch reality TV.
Land the plane, Cheryl.
Oh, okay. But my daughter isn't she wonderful?
Not as wonderful as my daughter.
Oh,
I
okay.
I think Jack's.
You know what they said about
what?
her senior year of high school? Her teacher said to me, "This girl can do anything." And you know what she did? She barely graduated from high school. She wasted about 10 years of her life bouncing around from college to college, and twice married.
Oh, but everyone goes through their struggles, and as a marriage and partnership therapist, I can definitely help out your daughter as much as she needs. Like everyone has their own journey in life.
Cheryl, where was that compassion in our children's marriage? Did you have any of that?
Oh yeah, I definitely watch out for my daughter. She's
and
really
scene.
Woo! We're gonna have to work out some trauma after that one.
I think we should do that every time. I think we should open.
Let us know if you enjoyed meeting our mothers, and if your mothers are like any one of our three. But let's move on to some other mothers and fathers.
One
and
mother in particular, of course. We're talking about Plathville today. Welcome to Plathville today. Season 6, Episode 2, Never Say Never, which really pops up in this episode in a truly magical way for Miss Olivia. That's where I think that title came from.
Yes, and we will get to that certainly. I want to offer something that I found on the Reddits regarding Kim and Cockroach Ken, or Ken, as I like to call him, the sentient bag of cockroaches that she is dating. So this is from one of the Plathville subreddits. I will say that at this time, we have indisputable evidence that Ken has been around the family since January of 2022. Kim and Barry announced they are separating in June of 2022. Kim and Ken become Facebook official in January of 2023. Then in May of 2023, Kim announces to the press that she and Ken are dating. Do we think there was an overlap here?
I would say there's distinctly an overlap there, and I think it's a little, I think it's gross in the sense of that Kim's coming on talking about how the kids aren't quite taken to Ken so quick, but she's leaving out the crux of the info, which is that Ken was like neighbor Ken before, they started their journey together.
Yes, and I also read that Ken was married also at the time that they were introduced, and that the length of that marriage, no judgment, mine was shorter. My first marriage was less than a year.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
So it's possible that Kim broke up not just her own, but another marriage as well.
So in this episode, when Kim's talking to her now boyfriend, saying that they've been together a year and a half, we're thinking that, and that Barry is like, doesn't talk to him at all. Are you saying you think that they knew each other, and so he and Barry had some kind of maybe minor friendship at least?
Yeah, I thought that they had, I thought I read somewhere, and listeners, Plathheads, please correct me. I thought I had read somewhere that they had leased one of their homes to him or something to that effect. I know that he was teaching Isaac or helping him prepare for his pilot's license, so that's something. But he would have been introduced to Barry at some point. What do we think of? I thought it was, and not that this is a new thing for her, but I thought it was particularly graceless of Kim to talk about how Barry has a boundary with Ken that I think is totally reasonable.
Well, that's the part that really bothered me when you found this backstory was, so Barry had some sort of neighborly friendship with Ken, and now Ken's fucking his ex-wife. But in terms of Kim's thinking, Barry should kind of be fine with it, or he's making a bigger deal out of it than is necessary.
They just need to get him a girlfriend so that then they can do whatever
Right.
they want to do. If he has a girlfriend, then she can do whatever she wants too.
Which is not how this works. I think, what's not being said here, and what she would have said if she were being honest, is, I can't believe the kids aren't on my side when, I started dating Isaac's flight instructor and, started cheating on their dad. And then I moved out of the house and was basically living my best single life without a care in the world for them, letting Lydia raise them in my place, and likely taking my place in the
Other
bedroom
ways.
in other ways. So I really think that Barry's being completely unfair here.
Well, that's what these shows do, right? Is they show us only a glimpse and only one side. I mean, this is the Plathville show. So how much say does Kim have in saying, like, no, we're not going to talk about how we knew each other before. We're just going to spread this new narrative that we have.
I don't think it's about Kim. I think it's production does not want the fact that this is some sort of extramarital situation coming out, because then
it's going to alienate the Christian demographic.
And the Kim Plath lovers who may exist.
Do they? Do they exist?
They exist somewhere. You'd be surprised.
Whenever there's a family freak show component to one of these shows, it's obviously coming out of, like, I think they're part of they were part of the Quiverful movement that the Duggars were involved in famously. So I think there's always people within those communities who are watching the show and kind of judging what's happening. And I'll say more about that when we look at Kim and Ethan's relationship, which we sort of gets hinted at right at the end of this episode. But let's get this thing with Ethan and Olivia over with, because I just want to dispatch with that so we can make fun of everything
like
else.
A continuation of last episodes.
It's a full, I mean, we're picking up pretty much from where we were last time, which is Olivia and we talked about this. I'm not sure why she needs Ethan's specific signature. I mean, obviously she needs Ethan's specific signature, but I'm not sure she needs to be in Minnesota to obtain these things. So, I don't know. It looks like, I don't know if she has a lawyer or not. But she seems to be, Ethan's dragging his feet and doesn't want to do this. But at the same time, you guys tell me, I mean, it feels like Olivia's not necessarily trying to move this at warp speed. I mean, do you disagree with that?
I think our most loyal listeners will know exactly what I'm about to say, which is, why didn't you hire a lawyer?
Coming from pretty much a lawyer herself.
Coming from a licensed family paralegal, I don't really... I have never in my life seen a non-acrimonious divorce. Of course, that's why people come to me, because they've spent, a good deal of money trying to get divorced. I think when you have mutual assets, it's just really important to have somebody on your side who can walk you through things unemotionally. Because when you're in that state, and I've been there myself, it's really difficult to trust yourself to make a fair evaluation. Whether you're in that sort of guilt and shame phase, or if you're in the anger, denial kind of phase, you're not going to make smart decisions for yourself. So I'm surprised that there are no attorneys involved.
I feel...
Do we know that there are no attorneys involved?
Yes, they did say
factually
that they were. Well, I don't know. According to the show, Olivia said, "Am I right in thinking that we want to do this without lawyers?" And Ethan said, "Yes."
I just find it's so hard. You're right. That is what happened. It's just, this is dragging on for what it seems like about 7, 8, 9 months. And Olivia, I guess that's just kind of where that's where it feels like she's not moving at warp speed. It feels like she probably could have gotten this moving if she was prepared to, but we can also get into that as we go into Olivia and Lydia's portion of the show today.
I don't think she's moving at warp speed, but I do think she's trying to be respectful. She knows that she has used these last 7, 8 months, whatever it's been, separated to live her own life. And as she says, live her single life. And I think she knows her husband well. I think she knows that Ethan is not going to be able to have processed anything and is probably going to have been completely avoidant of it. I think she's trying to kind of make it easier on him while also trying to get what she needs, which is she has already moved past this relationship. But I think she's trying to be respectful. Michelle, do you agree? Or
I think she's done her own work with a therapist. And I remember when she was having the discussion about leaving him, I think, Olivia can appear, in the infamous words of Ben Folds, selfless, cold, and composed. But it's because she's done a lot of this crying and processing and
Yes.
working through these difficult emotions off camera. And she said, I don't know if it's easily moving on so much as it is like feeling it all and sitting with these difficult emotions. Diana, I think you've had some really good insight on Ethan's process. What did you make of him in this scene and how he was managing? What did you see?
It's so mixed for me to watch him because you look at his face, he's like a sad puppy dog, and you really do feel sorry for him because it's genuine. Like, he is that sad, but he's also the kind of person that, I mean, he said something along the lines of, the producers asked him, were you wanting to get back together this whole time? Or is it just having seen Olivia right now? And he says, no, it's just seeing her right now, because he completely compartmentalizes to his detriment in a lot of ways. Like, he doesn't want this relationship to end. He can't believe it's happening. It's been a number of months, and you're allowed to be sad. And I think he can be sad and defeated and all of that. But he's also has checked out. He's working out. He's working, multiple jobs and not really dealing with it. And then he just wants it to magically be like, oh no, she decided she's going to come back and stay. And that doesn't work. And that's pretty much exactly what didn't work in their relationship, his inability to stand up and take charge of life. And while I am sad for him because I believe he's genuinely broken from a lot of this, he's going to have to figure out how to actually process his feelings in a bit more of a direct and timely manner.
Jack, you've been, you and Diana separated for a time, and we've talked about this before. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what that process was like for you initially, and whether there's anything you can see in Ethan or even Barry that you can relate to?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and look, not this is stuff in the past. It's a few years ago now, but Diana did leave abruptly, and we did not have much discussion. Diana was in a place in her life where she needed a break. I would have preferred speaking about it a little bit. And Diana, correct me if I'm wrong. You've said you would handle that a little differently if you
I
had it
think
to do over.
hindsight is 2020, and absolutely, I've learned from the way I handled things. I don't think I was wrong in everything, but I think that my approach was.
So, with that being said, I think a lot, if we take that word approach and think about it, look, everyone has to worry about themselves and also try to leave some space to not destroy the person you're leaving, because you still, you still love them in some capacity and you don't wish ill towards them. You're just trying to get a hold of your own life. So, seeing how I can relate to Ethan a lot. I don't really do what he does, which is
No, you process very differently.
I process a lot differently. I don't numb out and just kind of like I wouldn't be able to take manual tasks and just do them all day and not think about anything. I'd be thinking about everything constantly. I think that while I was watching this, it's you mentioned Olivia clearly has been to some therapy. I think it's pretty clear Ethan has not. He does not have a lot of the tools in his compartment that he might need. All of his tools are in the working on the old cars, and I feel like we're seeing this. He seems so shocked at this thing that's been months and months and months in the making, where maybe a different person would kind of be like, oh shit, like my wife's not coming back. And he literally pushed it so far off. And if I can, just because you brought up Barry there, I'm just going to jump around a little bit here. Just my happiest, quote unquote, or at least the part I felt good about in this episode was Barry having the opportunity to speak with Ethan alone when the other family disperses. It's when Ethan gets to Cairo, which, sorry, just a little aside. I am not from a family like this. I find it fascinating that you would get on a plane. Let me back up for a second. That you would make a decision to buy a ticket, walk to your car, drive like probably at least like an hour or two to the airport, then kill like another 2-3 hours at the airport, never calling or telling anybody you're going anywhere. You land, still don't call, another couple of hours, and you're just walking into the front door. Maybe I'm a little jealous at such a setup. I've never had one. Bizarre, but hey, that's how they work. But with that being said, Ethan walks in, sits down, says hello. We get a really nauseating thing, which I'll let Michelle and Diana get into, about Mariah and her deep care for Ethan, which
Bullshit.
But just over to Barry there. So Ethan has a chance to announce to the family probably something they've already known, which is that he will be getting divorced soon. And, this is the first time we really see him acknowledge that this is happening. And look, I know a lot of people have a lot of different takes on Barry. Barry can't really lose for me right now in how he's acting.
Same. I think for Barry to offer all of his children this kind of warmth, hospitality, support, some of which, let's face it, okay, is financial, right?
Yes.
Certainly in Raya's case. Barry has been, for me, he's answered for a lot. Maybe not in his words, and maybe that's not enough for some people, and I completely get that. But for me, this total 180 where he's going from someone who judges and condemns his children and is sort of like, very prescriptive about the people that they need to be and need to continue to be in the world that he didn't do anything to prepare them for, to being somebody who's so non-judgmental, who's such a good listener. I imagine a few viewers / listeners are going to say, well, why does he smirk all the time? Truly, I think that's an emotional
look
crutch.
I'm jumping in here because I agree with you. I'll tell you what, do we see someone else having a goofy awkward smile as they deliver horrible news today? Because we see Ethan with a goofy uncomfortable smile as he's telling the family getting divorced, and it looks like he's going to laugh, but these are people who are not in touch with their emotions. And then I wanted to bring it back to the thing that I thought was really impressive from Barry, just from, as you just mentioned, just where he began for us on the show, is come on, in season 1, was there ever a scenario where Barry would sit down with his eldest son and have an open conversation about depression?
Absolutely not.
No, and thank you for pointing that out. I mean, I think depression is probably informing a lot of Ethan's hesitancy and the sort of the deep freeze of his emotions, and also the inability to handle any kind of conversation. But I will pull him up on one thing, which is, I don't understand why he feels entitled to ask Olivia if they can work things out when he's the one who made her a list of hills that he was prepared to die on.
The non-negotiables.
The non-negotiables. One of which reportedly is her agreeing to not accept one of their future children should that child be a member of the LGBTQIA plus community.
And there's a terrific example of, if you give us everything that these people are saying, we might not be rooting for anyone. So,
Yeah, absolutely. That turns me off, and it's hard to know, like, if that really is true. Like, do you even know what you're saying, Ethan? Like, you have no clue of the world. How can you even have such a strong opinion on that? And I guess that's where the faith comes in, and that part of it I don't quite understand.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think the less control he feels he has, the more he goes to, well, this is what I was taught, which is the man is the head of the household. And
Right.
Jack and I were talking earlier about Jack sort of took umbrage at Olivia saying that in her mind she's already divorced, and even though that's not, legally accurate.
If I can just interject, my main issue there was that she seems like she's never heard of the word separation before. You've been separated. You are separated. You are trying to finalize your divorce. I just think that with people who we're talking about who don't have that sort of they're not familiar with this language, they don't have a lot of this in their history, their family history with divorce and everything. It just seems, I don't know, I guess, look, that was going back to like maybe something personal I was feeling, that it doesn't feel great to say you're divorced when you haven't gone through with everything and you're going to go to tarot readers and start getting like, it just feels like, hey, Olivia, it's a long process and you are also not speeding it up. So how about you're separated? But, it's neither here nor there. They're headed for what appears to be an inevitable divorce.
Sure. And in her defense on this
Mhm.
particular matter, I think because she's grown up in an extremely patriarchal sect,
Yes.
she's using that language as a way of asserting herself and her independence. And so I think it's important for her, and maybe it's shorthand for, I consider myself divorced.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Also, I think you're right in that they probably don't talk about separation in their community. You're probably married until your husband says you aren't, if divorce is even an option. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yes.
like in Orthodox Judaism, you have to basically get permission to even ask for a divorce. So
Right.
I don't know how it works in there.
But even in this situation, even though she doesn't need his permission, so to speak, in that way, like she is saying, like, I can't do this without him. Like I can't get divorced without him also agreeing and signing some papers and doing this task. And I think she's just feeling that she's feeling divorced in the sense that she is done with the relationship.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
out. And maybe it's not legal yet, but she is out emotionally and physically.
I had a negative reaction because I thought Olivia made that much clearer to us, the audience, in her ITMs than she did seemingly to Ethan face to face.
Well, I don't think you're wrong in that regard, but I think that if she did that, then Ethan would collapse in on himself like a dying star. I don't think she feels safe in saying that to him.
Do you mean safe like for herself, or safe that Ethan will be okay?
No, she's protecting him from himself, I think, essentially.
She's been doing that forever.
Yeah.
She's been protecting him forever. And I think I don't agree with her decision to isolate him from family members.
No.
I think that's always a mistake. I think in a relationship, regardless, you should never, ever, the better way to have gone about that is to say, I don't want to be part of this whole family dynamic. I'm not going to stop you from engaging with your siblings and having your relationships with them. I can't be a part of it right now because I don't feel safe in those relationships, and I don't feel like you support me in those relationships.
Do you think that the dynamic was so fucked up, though, that wasn't really an option? I mean, with his family was actually attacking her credibility and her, who she is as a person. So
I think what they did to her was unforgivable.
Awful.
Unforgivable. Really and truly, no going back.
Especially when she was the one who really helped them come out of this. Like she was the one who brought a lot of them into the world that they wanted to be a part of and then got mad at her for it.
So I think we've touched on this, but it just brought up, and I just want to ask you, Michelle, do you feel like is this almost like some almost like retribution for showing us the world, Olivia, and now we're going to demonize you? Do you get that vibe at all?
No, I think this is it's typical cult shit, like it is,
Yep.
if you fall prey to all of the
Trappings.
what do you call it, the the temptations of the material world, then you're going to be in big trouble, and they can't take accountability for any of those things, and so it has to be that some terrible person led them this way.
Now, you say cult, but who's the cult leader at this point? Kim's gone, not involved in anything, doesn't want any part of it. And Barry, we've acknowledged, has changed to a large part. So is this the cult leader in their heads, almost, from how they were raised?
Yes, absolutely.
Have Micah and Mariah kind of taken the torch from their parents, who they tried to rebel against and then ran right back when they got scared?
Well, they're also, I mean, come on.
Or broke, I should say.
Well, Micah's gone from one high control relationship to another.
I had asked you, was he let out for the weekend here by the girlfriend, the secret girlfriend?
The secret girlfriend said, you can go and see your family, but you have to promise your sisters aren't going to be there, especially Mariah.
I know y'all had a special relationship.
Yeah, I promise you, this woman is so threatened by Mariah. I told you not to bring your ex over here.
Anything before we will move on to others here, but do you have anything you want to wrap up on, just on Ethan and Olivia, before we get to the rest of the menagerie of people?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm not going to go through the tarot reading note for note. I would say I can't speak to this woman's technique. I don't know from what I saw. I think she works intuitively, which I deeply respect.
Mm-hmm.
I also work intuitively. I would have perhaps taken away different things from that spread. But then
there were a lot of cards out.
There were a lot of cards out, and it's difficult to say also when you kind of know the history about these things. She didn't really impress me. What I feel very strongly is that as a reader, it's very different to being a therapist or a counselor, obviously. But the similarity is, I think, I never want to give my clients advice, and I never want to speak in absolutes. The only time I speak in absolutes is if I am sending a message that's coming from the other side, or that I'm picking up, right? Or that's an established fact. So I would have focused this reading not on,
you will only get married
yes,
once,
exactly. And this
ever?
sort of that she keeps saying, like, oh, this man in your life. Now, to be fair, most of my clients want to know about this, what we call the person of interest, right? But that's not what Olivia was looking for. And if I were doing a reading for her, I would think this is a young woman who feels lost, who's kind of come in sort of seeking some insight and guidance. And I would have looked at what guidance was coming up for her. So whether that was, I would have just looked at other areas, because I would have picked up on the fact that Olivia's, not super interested.
Whether this reader was really tapped in or not, and I'm not judging that. I can't judge that. Apart from, it was, look, all three of us are into tarot, and
we live in LA. I mean, come on.
And shout out to one of our wonderful mods in Joshua Tree, who said,
yes,
most of the people who go crystal hunting
in Joshua Tree
are from Los Feliz, Silver Lake, Echo Park. And I have to say, I felt exposed with that comment. And I really appreciated it too.
Love you, Heidi.
I love you too, Heidi.
All the East Coasters who move to LA and live on the East Side are very into.
But I bring that up because we all have a little bit, we have some tarot people who we appreciate on YouTube and all of that. No tarot reader I've seen, met, anything would have looked at a spread like that without clarifying or anything and randomly said 2 years. I was just wondering how that struck both you, Diana and Michelle, how that struck you guys with the 2 years specifically.
You will have 2 years of other relationship, and then you will get back with this husband.
Yeah, it's basically like saying, okay, both of you are okay. I'm just going to do a little nerdy tarot astrology corner. Okay. There is a way to read timing through the cards. I have a little chart with all the correspondences in it. So basically, you can do it a couple of different ways, but what I prefer is to look at, like, if I'm asking for timing, I look at what time period astrologically that card is
Right.
in. And that helps a great deal. But I try not to go into that unless people ask me specifically, because so many things nothing's written in stone. And I think projecting 2 years in the future is pretty useless. And it's also, again, it's not setting her up for, it's not giving her what she's looking for coming in.
The openness, the freedom, the trying to, explore her new life as a single person. It's just reminding you you're going to be right back in this relationship, and nope, you might have other ones, but they're not going to work out. You're going to get back with this person.
But did you both get I got the feeling from watching Olivia very giddy after this tarot reading. She seemed almost freed up, kind of like, oh, great, like I can now go out and experience my solo life because I know I'm probably going to end up back with Ethan in a couple of years.
I read that very differently.
Tell me.
I think Olivia gets giddy when she's angry or uncomfortable.
Okay.
Interesting.
They all sort of do get like kind of smiley and goofy when they're angry. I think she was a little bit Twitter-pated over first of all, she had never done this before.
Her first going into the occult realm,
yes,
as she called it.
Exactly. So this is a taste of the forbidden fruit in her culture. So I think, when I kind of started exploring this realm, we talked about realms a lot in this episode, Barry and his realm.
We did have back-to-back scenes of Barry speaking about where Ethan is in Olivia's realm, and then we move right into
I
Olivia's
thought that was
speaking.
great advice, by the way.
100%.
Oh, it was lovely.
That
It
was the
Yeah.
best
perfect.
advice that you heard on this show, I think.
Yeah.
That's why Barry's my MVP this week. But go ahead, Michelle.
I forgot
her
what
giddiness.
Her giddiness. Yeah. I think it was a combination of all these things. And they also raised Olivia and her sister Lydia.
Lydia Grace
also raised the fact that, their youngest brother died in an accident, and
very tragic.
Very recently too, right?
Yeah.
The same time she was having her troubles and starting the separation with Ethan. So a lot going on.
It's never one isolated thing. It's always one thing after another, at least in my life.
When it rains, it pours, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I know all three of us have gone through like serious losses in our lives at times when other things were, the bottom was dropping out.
Yeah.
And in their case, they're at this funeral and everyone else is consoled by the fact that, oh, this child is in heaven now. And they don't believe that. They don't necessarily know what they believe. And it's horrifying. So for them, I think she genuinely doesn't know where that fits in her brain, and which is why she's asking, like, is this always accurate? Is this, and to us, we know from everything that we've seen and read about and studied and, in my own practice and all the rest, that no, it doesn't. My experience with readings, both giving and receiving them, is that there's a lady that I would recommend to absolutely anyone who I love. She's my favorite. I was put in touch with her a long time ago. I trust her 100%, But when it comes to the accuracy of her readings, she's occasionally off by 30 degrees.
Mhm.
So,
Can you
like,
give us an example?
yes. So she predicted, this is many years ago now, but she predicted about 10 years ago that my father would have a heart attack. And right around that time, my psychiatrist, who I had a very unhealthy relationship with, that I've referenced about this before, but my psychiatrist of 10 years had a heart attack and almost died. So it wasn't my
Wow.
father, but it was a father figure.
Gotcha.
So yeah, things like that.
Well, because I think it's more about working with the energies. That's what I always get from the tarot readers that I watch or that I work with, is that, this is the energy that's surrounding you at this time, but you can choose to go in that energy, or you can choose not to, or you can do nothing and you probably won't go in that path necessarily. So it feels like it's not an absolute that, like, oh, it's going to be 2 years. It's like, if you kind of follow these energies.
I think, yeah, it's not fortune telling, and
No, it isn't. And there's always choice. That's the
Yes.
thing. There's
Right.
always freedom of choice. You can always, and again, I think there's a big distinction between guidance and advice. Guidance is like, you may want to read more about different types of relationships, right? And your attachment style and things like that. Advice would be, hey, you've got to get him back, because that's, it's your job to kind of train him into being your husband. And that's the energy I got from this lady, which is not
too
one that I
directive to
appreciate.
me.
Yeah, exactly. Can we go into talking about the rest of the family?
Oh, the rest of the clan. Well, we don't see the little ones this round.
No, they're
they're trapped on the houseboat in that U-shaped bed by the stern of the ship.
they are gator meat.
Oh, no.
They've lost a couple of toesies in them waters.
They might be in that gumbo Mariah's serving.
But it's the first time we see Lydia and Isaac this season, which Isaac has grown.
Isaac's got a man face developing
Yes,
now.
he does. Yes, he does. Lydia looks fantastic.
That looks
Beautiful.
It's the best she's ever looked. She looks like the current references only. She looks like the twins from Sweet Valley High, but like the books.
Can I?
Yeah, I did put it in our
You
notes.
screenshotted that one for us.
She also does not bear resemblance to the twins from the television show, who listeners might know as the identical twins who sleep with Leonardo DiCaprio in The Basketball Diaries.
Winky and Blinky. Let us know if you can catch that reference.
But I thought Lydia looks great. I think that world travel and getting out of Cairo seemed to be suiting her very well. She seems a little bit more confident, even just sitting there speaking to the family.
Still can't carry a tune in a bucket, unfortunately.
She's so earnest.
I know.
You can both sing. Is it like, do you think that she should just kind of like make this like a home hobby and not like try and make it a professional thing?
I think
Or does she need coaching?
Her sense of pitch is her biggest problem. She's always off.
There's also like I don't know, is it a vibrato that she kind of tries to do?
It's this fake
it's like
vibrato that they all do, that Mariah especially will be like, I saw the moon in the dark. Yeah.
Oh, so it's a little, okay, it's that type of like what, where you're almost auto-tuning yourself?
I saw the moon in the dark. And I loved this fucking liar going, in the past we let a lot of things be issues that never should be let to be issues, and he needed me a lot, but I was never there for him. It's okay. You are Mariah. You are the biggest fucking liar in this whole cast of fucking liars.
But I make a mint chocolate martini now.
For those of you who are curious, I looked this up. Apparently, this is just one recipe, but
this sounds like diabetes in a glass. This
makes
horrifying.
This is the closest thing to what looked like she was making whipped cream vodka.
Like whipped cream flavored vodka.
I have nothing to say on that.
Creme de menthe.
Creme de coco or creme de cacao, but I think she's a creme de coco gal.
No, creme de coco for sure. And then half and half.
Milk. Oh.
Who doesn't like a martini that you need to take a lactate pill with?
Did you like her beautiful drizzle of Hershey's chocolate syrup in the glass? Like, shit in a glass.
Shit in a glass. Also, I could not find Obgo.
Yes,
but
we did, because the waiter says to Mariah, hey, can you bring over this cup of gumbo? Okay, we got that.
Yeah.
And cup of ogbo.
Yes. I don't know. All I know is that ogbono soup is a West African dish. But we actually looked up the menu. We Googled the restaurant and looked at the menu and couldn't find anything to match. I'm sure it's a seasonal thing that they do.
I saw another dish that's like agboot or something, and it's like an Iranian dish, but again, doesn't seem to match up and line up.
To be fair, this restaurant, I did look it up.
To be fair.
I did look this restaurant up, Giorgio's, where she works, and it does proclaim itself as a Greek and American restaurant. So maybe they're pulling some different cuisines.
Some soul food.
Did she mean orzo?
Have a cup of orzo, please. Just nothing on it. Just a cup of orzo.
Her bartending skills are off the hook, but her waitressing skills with all that manual labor is definitely her strength.
Hey, hardworking listeners out there, how do you feel about Mariah referring to carrying 2 cups as, quote, manual labor?
And also the fact that she spilled them and said to the customers, try not to mind that. Like, she could have dumped it in their laps. And she would have been like, sorry.
Sorry, I'm doing a TikTok. I knocked everything over.
She's like the weasels from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If you get that reference, come at us. Tell us how many times you watched that when you were a kid and how many times you thought, why do I feel something right now that I'm not sure what that is?
Are you referring to the horror at Christopher Lloyd's eyes or the sexual awakening many of us had with Jessica Rabbit?
I'm talking about I think when Jessica Rabbit was the first kind of character that I encountered, and I thought that I want to be that, and I'm not sure why.
But I know it's attractive somehow.
Yeah. I
well,
like
we
the
only
idea
get
of it.
a little of Micah in this, but what we do get makes me really irritated. Because Ethan is just so depressed and sad, and Mariah and Micah definitely were not helpful in any of his marriage and situation.
I'm sorry. I got to jump in. This really, really triggered me. And I will say this because I know he doesn't listen. I have a brother-in-law who has been with my sister since the late 90s. And when Diana and I were separated and I was in New York for quite some time, like a year plus, he literally had 0 drinks with me and spoke to me about my situation 0 times. Now, granted, he's not a blood brother. He's a by marriage brother, so that can go either way. Watching Micah's, he doesn't get up. He doesn't hug his brother. He doesn't do anything. And I don't know if he still has, internal hatred towards Ethan and Olivia and whatever's going on.
Look
If
who
you
has
pay-
the good relationship now.
If you pay for my flight, I'll come up and see you.
In Minnesota, even
Just
though I
call
know
me.
you're leaving when your lease is up.
Your cheese trash. Sometimes the garbage takes itself out, Ethan.
Micah became this nasty, bitter queen
At,
Bitchy.
at 23 years
in that
old.
last year of LA, and I think his nasty girlfriend is reinforcing that. So he also slept a lot during this visit. That was interesting. Probably doesn't get much sleep at home, to be fair. I think she puts him to work.
Chorin.
He is choring one way or the other. He's either doing indoor chores, if you know what I mean, or
Digging that
outdoor.
indoor trench or an outdoor
Mhm.
trench.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
But in that, so yeah, I didn't mean Diane. I'm sorry to have stepped over you on that.
No, I know it really
It
triggered you
really
as well.
bothered me because, like, look, I'm an emotional guy. I'm a hugger. Like, if something with anyone, even if I'm mad at someone, like, sometimes you just got to give a hug. Like, it doesn't solve the thing, but you can at least let someone know you care if you lack the words, brain power, or intellect to do so in a different way.
Well, it's kind of like the least he could do. The very least he could do is be like, I'm only a phone call away. Like,
He's a fucking asshole.
Pick up the phone and call your brother and
It's the
check
first
on
time,
him.
and I've always thought Mike is a handsome guy, whatever. This is the first time I don't see handsome. I see punchable face. That's what I see.
Yeah, I don't care for it myself. Anyway, if you liked what you heard here, we've got one more week of Plathville being on the free feed. So, like we said, first 3 episodes we're not going to paywall. From the week after next on out, we are just going to release the first half hour, and then you'll have to come on over to Patreon.
Well, I will say, while we're certainly not clean on here, we're even less clean on the Patreon. So, if you like these conversations and want to hear them get a little bit more personal and dirty, perhaps, Patreon's a great place to go.
Also,
Ooh la
when we
la.
get to 100 patrons, we're going to do one topless episode a week. I will be wearing pasties. I think that's fair enough.
I'm not wearing pasties, and I'm not going to argue about it.
Patreon.com/Blighty Day, at Blighty Day on Instagram, Facebook.com/Blighty Day Bays. Blighty is spelled BLIGHTYBAES. We've got a beautiful community of wonderful, empathetic people who just want to connect during these difficult times. Let us be a place for you to gather and make new friends and make new connections with people you might not encounter in the outside world. This is who we are. This is what we do. Come at us. I am Michelle Snark on Facebook. You can friend me. You can talk to any of us on the Instagram at Blighty Day. BlightyDayFiance@gmail.com. Just put the person you want to write to in the subject line, or if it's for everyone, put everyone. That includes me, Jack, Diana, cousin Dan, Robin. I think that's it.
That's our crew.
My name is Michelle, and it's not about me in your realm. It's about you in your realm.
And my name's Jack, and I'm going to have a martini in a little while, but it's going to be one that I don't need a lactose pill for.
And I'm Diana, and I've got my creme de menthe ready to go for you, Jack.
We love
you. That's
it.